Today I'm going to be talking about the homeschool curriculum that we use for the 2021 to 2022 school year. And the first book that I'm going to be talking about is this one here, The Genesis Curriculum by Lee Giles. This one is the book of Genesis. This book is not a unit study. The way that this book works is you have 180 lessons. Once you get to lesson 140, it's more like project-based lessons. So technically you only have about 140 lessons. I really enjoyed this book. We didn't get through the whole book. We plan on finishing this book our upcoming school year. This is how a lesson looks. So you would start off your day by reading a few Bible verses from the book of Genesis. On day one, we read Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 through 5. And then it tells us here, our memory verse is Genesis 1:1. So we practice that, and the memory verse usually lasts for about a week. So we practice that same verse that whole week. Then we move on to spelling and handwriting. So here the words, verse 5 is our handwriting verse for the week. And then our spelling words are formless, void, darkness, and moving. The way that I would do this is I would just say the words out loud, and then my son would spell them back to me. So I was doing this curriculum with a first grader and a seventh grader. So there is a big age gap. But the thing that I loved about this curriculum, you can adjust it according to your child's grade level. So if you know that your child can do a little bit more, you would challenge them more. So my son would spell out the words for me. Sometimes he would write them down. So then you would move on to your vocabulary word of the day, and it would tell you like whether it's a noun, noun, adjective, or verb. And then you would talk about the word. The next section in language is studying Hebrew. So each book in the Genesis curriculum, I believe the first two books you study Hebrew and then you study Latin. So in this one we were studying Hebrew. And in the beginning, you're just learning words. So you learn a Hebrew word, and then you move on to learning like verses in Hebrew. The second half of the curriculum, which we had just started, is you learn how to write Hebrew. So we didn't really get into that part yet because this was our first year homeschooling, and we were just kind of trying a little bit of everything. So we got behind in some things. And in this Genesis curriculum, we only got up to like lesson 100, I believe. So we still have about 40 actual lessons to do in this book. And then we have the projects at the end. So like I said earlier, I do plan on finishing the curriculum because we really enjoyed it, especially for science and social studies. So sometimes the science and the social studies will relate back to the Bible verses. So in science, for example, in lesson 1, we studied light. And we learned all about light, you know, how it relates to the Bible, how God created it. We learned about photons, how light moves, things like that. And at the end of the lesson for science, there is an option called Explore More. So if you have a child who is like in middle school or high school and you want to give them some extra work, there is suggestions on there that you can use. We didn't always use them with my seventh grader. Sometimes we would, but for the most part, I feel like the lesson that was already in the book was enough. We move on to social studies. Sometimes the social studies relates back to the Bible verse, sometimes it doesn't. So it just really depends, but it's the same thing. And then at the end, sometimes for the social studies, there's also Explore More. And we have a discussion, so it gives you like some questions, you know, to strike up conversation. And I feel like this was my favorite part of the curriculum. There was always something to talk about at the end. So you really just start to think about what you learn, how it relates to the world, how everything just comes together. And even me as an adult, I feel like I was learning so much from this curriculum. And I feel like my favorite part about it was at the end, we're all just sitting there just talking about these topics and learning, you know, each other's thoughts. So I really enjoyed that part of this curriculum. And then towards the last section, which is the section 7, it's writing. Each student has a workbook. This one is recommended for grades 3 and up. And this is where you will have any assignments for all of the topics in the Genesis curriculum. So if you look at the table of contents, we have writing and editing, writing sentences, spelling review, grammar review, vocabulary review, science review, social studies review, and Hebrew writing, and then you have your appendix. So not every day, but I would say every other day, your 3rd graders and up have an assignment in this book. So you start off, so just to recap, you start off, you read your Bible verse, everybody repeats the verse, then you move into language. In language, you have, everything relating to language arts. Spelling, handwriting, vocabulary, grammar, and then Hebrew. So then you move on to science. You have your science lesson. I really, really enjoyed that about this curriculum, that it was just so relaxed. And sometimes you do have a worksheet, sometimes you don't. If we were really interested in the topic, we would print out a worksheet or we would do some extra work relating to it. But there wasn't always worksheet work. So then you move on to the discussion, and then at the end is the writing. Sometimes there's exercises in here to do relating to writing. Sometimes it tells you to ask your child a question, and it has the question here for you, or you can ask them anything you want to ask them and have them write for 5 minutes about that topic. And then you go over it, make sure that their punctuation is correct, their grammar, things like that. It's like a lot, you guys, but honestly, each lesson would take us max 45 minutes and we'd be done. Like max an hour if we were really into it, but it never took longer than that. And keep in mind, you're doing Bible, you're doing memory verses, you're doing language arts, foreign language, social studies, and science all in one. So it's a really great curriculum. Like I said, we really enjoyed it. We really enjoyed that every day was something new. So you're not doing the exact just one topic for social studies, one topic for science, which can get pretty boring sometimes. You're doing something new every single day, having real life conversations about these topics. And like I said, it really just brings your family in closer. So I love this curriculum, and I highly recommend it. This was a map book that comes with it. So sometimes it'll tell you to go into this book and look at certain countries, look at maps. So you do study some geography as well. The answer book. This is my younger child's workbook. Each child under 3rd grade, you want to get the tracing book. And this is what they do. A vocabulary word every day. So sometimes for like 90% of the assignments in here, you have the vocabulary word, and then it tells you to draw, it tells you some sentences pertaining to that vocabulary word, and then it tells you to draw a picture for it. And then you have copy work. So right here, you're tracing the spelling words. So your younger ones don't have to spell out those harder words. So one thing I will say about this curriculum, if you have younger kiddos who don't have a strong foundation in language arts yet, I would highly suggest getting an additional language arts curriculum for that child. So even for your older kiddos, if you feel like your older kiddos need practice in grammar or something of that sort, I would suggest getting an extra curriculum for that. But for your younger kiddos who don't yet have a foundation in language arts, get an extra curriculum. I just felt like it wasn't enough for my 1st grader. Halfway through the curriculum, I ended up getting another language arts curriculum. So I ended up getting the Good and the Beautiful language arts. And I regretted not starting sooner because we're still working on that and we're already at the end of the school year. Nonetheless, I love the Genesis curriculum for Bible, science, and history. It was just so much fun to go through those topics. And after we would complete the lesson, my kids would always be so happy that we did do the lesson because they learned so much from it. Since we are talking about Lee, let's go ahead and keep on that topic. So the next book that I'm going to be sharing with you guys that we used was the Easy Peasy Math Workbook 1. and it has 180 daily activities for first grade. These are all the things that your child will learn in the curriculum. I love this math book. If it's an old concept, like something we've already learned, she sits down and she does it on her own. I will say that I did have to sometimes print out worksheets for her and give her extra work on some of the topics because she wasn't grasping them as quickly. So we would just take a break from the curriculum for like a day or two, and I would print up extra worksheets pertaining to that work. So for example, for skip counting, I had to take a break from the curriculum and I printed out skip counting worksheets from like Teachers Pay Teachers or just Google, and she would work on those. So Easy Peasy did change their curriculum this year. So they have a completely new math workbook 1, which I heard is even better than this. It's truly a blessing, and it's really, really inexpensive. So that's another thing about Lee, is that she prices her curriculum at really good prices because she wants everyone to be able to afford homeschooling. She also has it all for free online. But I highly, highly recommend this book. Let's move on to language arts for first grade. So my daughter tested for language arts and she tested into level K. The Good and the Beautiful has also revised their curriculum. So next year she will be going into level 1 of The Good and the Beautiful. Technically, she is a year behind in language arts, but compared to public school, I feel like this curriculum is really advanced. My daughter did kindergarten during COVID online, and she did distance learning. It wasn't good. When I picked this book up halfway through our school year this year, I was so happy that I did. My daughter is reading the short stories that come with the book, and recently she has showed more interest in reading on her own. Started seeing that she was missing so many like foundational skills that are needed to become a good reader later on in life. So this curriculum is literally worth every single penny. It's not even expensive, you guys, and you can also get it for free, like download their PDFs for free online. So we are on lesson 74. So we're a little bit over halfway done. I have heard from some people that the lessons can be a little bit too much sometimes. And the reason I feel that they think that is because in the beginning, the lessons are really short. They're really short, sweet, and straight to the point. And they're always like that. They're always just straight to the point. Your child is just learning. There's no fluff, in the curriculum. But as the child goes on, it does tend to get a little bit longer, not by a lot. The lessons get longer by like maybe 5 to 10 minutes because your child is learning a lot more. On those days when I just feel like we're done, like we can't do no more, I just cut the lesson in half. And I do the other half the next day. And that's been working really good for us. With this curriculum, you get this workbook. So this is mandatory. These are optional. So you don't have to get these books. You can go to your library and just pick out books that are on the same level. But she's been reading these and she really, really likes them. This is the box she's supposed to be on right now. And she's already read all these books probably like 3 times. And she just loves it. And she's doing really, really well. And I'm just surprised at how much she has learned in just 73 lessons. Like, this book has just been a blessing in our homeschool, and I'm going to keep doing the Good and the Beautiful language arts for her, and probably forever, because it's just such a good book. And then you also get some phonics cards, and you do sight words. The sight words are already in the workbook. So in the beginning of the workbook, you have your sight word ladders. And for every ladder that they complete, they have to have no mistakes 3 times, and then they get to color something from this picture. And at the end, when they know all their sight words, the whole picture will be colored. So it's pretty motivating for kids. My daughter always looks forward to finishing a sight word ladder because she gets to color something new. So that's the Good and the Beautiful writers. So I got this for my daughter. I thought it was handwriting practice, like extra handwriting practice, Sometimes it is, and sometimes it's them building sentences. She didn't really like this curriculum. We won't be getting it again. We got this book, the Human Body Activity Book for Kids. I did like this book. It's a good book. It has some really fun activities, but it is not something that they can do on their own. So this one you have to sit with your child and read them like the little lesson, and then they'll do something pertaining to that lesson. So I'll show you guys an example. So here you have a picture of a cell, and then you draw, you know, where that cell is. So for here, so in this side, for example, you have a brain cell, and then you would draw the brain. We started doing this math workbook, and this is the Easy Peasy Math 6 workbook, and these are the things that he was working on during the course. And this math book works. Okay, I'm gonna tell you guys the pros. It really, really does work, because when my son tested maybe like 2 or 3 months ago for his charter, he tested and he placed at a 10th. They didn't even place him at a level. They just said he's higher than a 10th grade in math. And I know it's because of this workbook. There was some lessons in this book that were really difficult for him to get through. And I feel it was because he didn't get the foundational skills in public school that he needed to get. This is what he placed in, though. I do feel like some stuff was easy in here for him and some stuff was a little bit more challenging. But in the beginning, when we were about a fourth of the way through this math workbook, we wanted to give up. Like, I wanted to give up with him. Peasy is spiral math. So for first grade, for my first grader, it was also spiral math. And I highly recommend math that is spiral, because you continue to go over the concepts throughout the course, therefore you don't forget them. And I feel like it really does work. It really, really does work. And my son, for example, like I told you guys, my first grader, she was able to do like a lot of the stuff on her own towards the end. And same thing with my son. A lot of the lessons for him towards like the last fourth of the book were really easy for him. And I feel it was because they do the spiral method. And he did finish all of the 180 lessons. So there's 180 lessons, and it has a completion chart in the beginning. So for lesson 1, you do your arithmetic review. So at the beginning of the book, there's like a whole little section where every day they have about no more than like 3 problems, 5 problems to do pertaining to like multiplying, adding, just really simple math concepts that every kid should know. So you do your arithmetic review, which usually takes about 5 to 10 minutes depending on the child, and then you move on to the lesson. The lesson can take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, and it'll take an hour if it's like a really hard concept for the child to learn, but it's usually shorter than that. I do recommend that if your child is showing that they know the concept, for you to like take out some of the work at the end, because there is a lot of problems that they do for one lesson. And then you do your practice. So you do your lesson, you do some problems. I'll show you guys an example. So here we have greatest common factors. This is lesson 3 in the book. So it gives you an intro to the lesson, and you do like a problem along with them. And then at the bottom, you do some work. So you're already doing work when you're doing the lesson, but then you turn the page and you have your practice. So you have more problems there. And my biggest complaint about Easy Peasy Math 6-7 was the word problems. And I guess I'm not the only one, because when I did go online to their support groups, which those are great if you're doing Easy Peasy or Genesis curriculum, they do have support groups, and I highly recommend that you join them on Facebook. Anyways, back to the book. I went on there asking for help on how to complete some of the problems, because even I didn't know how to do it. And I was just like, wow, this is like really hard. So I understood his frustration. Some of the word problems are worded like kind of funny, and it makes them really hard to understand and do. So a lot of the word problems we would sometimes skip over, and not all the time. Just like we would, like if they had three word problems, we would just do one. And he still did great. Those tears and sweat were worth it because he learned so much, and towards the end of the book he was just like flying through it. So that's my review of this book. I wouldn't recommend this book if you're not math savvy, simply because you do have to teach your child. So you have to be your child's teacher. And there was a lot of lessons, like out of the 180 lessons, I feel like there was like 5 to 10 lessons that I was just kind of lost myself, and me and him had to go on YouTube and look up how to find that. And there was probably like 2 problems in the book that I just didn't get. I just didn't get them. And I feel like for math you want to have a teacher who knows what they're doing, because if not, you're just going to confuse your child more. And I feel like sometimes I was confusing him. I did try my best, and I feel like he did his best and he learned a lot. So I do recommend this book because it's affordable and because your child will learn. But I don't recommend it if you don't like math, because you will have to be your child's teacher. It does come with a parent's guide. Sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it's not. But I mean, it's a great curriculum. I really recommend Easy Peasy for anybody starting out homeschooling, because their curriculum is really affordable. It's free online, and I feel like Lee really I feel like her heart is in the right place, and I feel like she does what she does because she's so passionate about homeschooling and about others being able to also do the same. The last thing I'm going to be talking about is Easy Peasy the reading program. So this is days 1 through 90. It has 90 lessons, and he does have lessons 91 through 180. He already finished 1 through 90. So I love these readers because all the books that you're going to read are already in this book. So you don't have to go out to the library and buy the books. And I'm not even kidding you guys. I think this this book is like $5 or $10, and you're getting all these great books in it. So that's like a steal right there already, because these are some really good books. And every day you have like a short lesson. The lesson takes about 20 minutes to complete max. You read, whatever section they tell you to read. Sometimes you have to answer questions. Sometimes you have to go to your parent and discuss what you read with them. I really enjoyed it. I feel like they had some good books in here. And my son's favorite book was actually Black Beauty. He really, really loved that story. And he also loved Penrod. So in Easy Peasy reading 7, you read Penrod too. So I think that we are going to continue with Easy Peasy with the reading program for next school year for 8th grade. And I'm thinking of also getting him their language arts program, and just not doing the language arts and Genesis curriculum when we do the Bible, science, and history in here. Just not doing the language arts portion. I'll probably be doing a video on next year's curriculum, and I'll share what we're going to be using. But for the first half of next school year, I'm thinking we're going to be using Genesis curriculum for science and history and Bible. I'm just finishing this up because we already have it. And we'll see what we use for all the other subjects. But as soon as I know, and as soon as I have everything, I'm going to be doing another video talking about all that. I really love homeschooling my children. I love that I get to be home with them all day, every day, that we get to spend time with each other. And there's just so many benefits to homeschooling that I will be sharing with you guys on this channel. If you guys are looking for some encouragement, some tips, then subscribe to my channel, like this video, comment down below if you guys have used any of this curriculum and what you guys think about it. If you guys agree or disagree. We all have our own opinions about all of this, so I don't want to talk down on any curriculum. Like I said, I really love the Genesis curriculum. I really love Easy Peasy. I really love the Good and the Beautiful. and I feel like I'm still learning, you know, in my homeschool journey. I don't know everything about homeschooling yet. I don't know all the curriculums out there, but I do know that these two curriculums are great options, especially for first-time homeschoolers. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.